Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of My Black is Transnational. And tonight, whatever time it is, I have on a distinct pleasure finding my long lost, my long lost sister, my good friend, all the way back, man, from the good old U of I days. I have on here now renowned physician assistant, Ghana2Go's finest, our very own.
Stop it.
Our very own season making her way maker. All right. Crystal Amoah joining us on the show to talk about her Black being transnational.
Okay.
And I appreciate you being here, man. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for having me. Thank you for whoever is listening to.
Yeah.
How have you been?
Girl, I've been good. This has been a busy season. And I'm not talking about the podcast. I'm just talking about like this season, like this fall season. A lot of management going on, a lot of, good things in the works, trying to really maximize my expertise and got a couple of things that we'll definitely talk about offline that I got going on. But very, very, very much so. Shaking. Family's doing good. Kids are keeping me busy. My oldest is super active now, getting ready for high school.
So, oh my God. Wait.
Oh,
you said high school.
Getting ready for high school. Yeah, my oldest is 13, 8th grader. Now she want to be in everything, student council.
Yeah. No, that's important.
Trying to build that I'm like, listen, I'm not complaining. Go ahead, let's get it. No junior high school, all this stuff. So I got to make time for that too. And then I got the two toddlers. Well, 4 and 3, and they're in the stage where they want to fight. They want to fight with each other. They want to, daddy, this person's hitting me, or this person took my toy. So they're in that sibling.
Yeah, they're right back to back. Oh,
they're back-to-back championships.
Yeah.
They you know how it is. Like, they mess with each other, but we can't mess with them. So
no, I was about to say, just leave them alone.
Yeah, they mess with us. Like, leave my brother alone. It's like, okay. But yeah, no, thanks for asking. I will kind of flip it back to you now. So usually I go off, right? Before we get into the gisting and catching up, because I really am very excited to catch up with you and just kind of learn about all the things you've been doing. I want to have you just introduce yourself to the audience, kind of let them know who you are, what you do, where you from, where you representing culturally, and everything that you want to share. The floor is yours.
Okay. All right. So like you said, I'm Crystal. I am a Ghanaian American. My parents migrated here many years ago. I think my mom has been here for 40 years, she said the other day. I did have the honor of living in Ghana actually a couple of times. But I was pretty much raised in Chicago, around Uptown. I did also go to University of Illinois, and that is where I met Kelechi. And kind of, roamed around a little, and then finally went to PA school 2017, and became a physician assistant. That's what I do during the day. And then during the pandemic, I decided I love to cook. A lot of people don't know that about me. No, they do not. People who know. So when I was an undergrad, I would cook for a lot of people. Sorry, I know you're looking at me.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking, because I know somewhere out here Jessica's listening, and I'm gonna be like, did Jess know?
No.
Okay, because I was about to be like,
I don't know, but there was a couple of people from ACA who definitely knew. Yeah, I wish I was more open about that. I mean, I was so young. I just thought it was normal, but coming to find out it wasn't. So, I've always cooked. I started cooking maybe as young as 9. And that's because I lived in Ghana. So I would help out in the kitchen a lot. It was like, at that time, I thought it was an honor, to be able to cook and do those things. And it's probably mainly because I came from a West African country. Like, I lived in a West African country. And at that time, I mean, it was just an 100 if you knew how to cook, period. So, I mean, I was really taught that really, really young, and I am the oldest too, so that could also be it. So, yeah, I've always loved to cook, and then I decided to go to PA school. But even as a physician assistant, I like what I do, but I love the business aspect more. And that's in terms of like anything that has to do with food. So then I created Ghana2Go, and Ghana2Go, I know the name has, people like Ghana must go. No. And I got a lot of opposition about the name. And I said, well, no, it's taken a little bit of Ghana2Go with you. So
Yeah.
I started with the seasoning. And my idea was to create something ethnic based. A lot of Africans or a lot of ethnic folks use a lot of, I don't want to put this out, I don't know who's in it, but they use Maggie. That's what they use. And
Well, of course, that's the
if you look
go-to.
at Maggie, it looks like a science project. It looks like a chemistry project. There's everything in but the actual ingredient. um, so what I did was, for instance, Maggie with shrimp, that's like one of the go-to, one of the most popular flavors. I said, honestly, if I just take dry shrimp, take rosemary,
Mm.
take onion, take some pepper. I like Himalayan salt, so that's what I used. I feel like that's what gives
Low
it a
pink salt.
kick.
Low pink salt.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pink salt.
yeah.
However, it does not have iodine in it. So I mean, just health wise, this is my PA hat also coming on, but
Okay.
I like that, and it's also good. It's also good in marinating meat. It helps break down meat, so I tend to like that. And I was like, this is so easy. Like you're getting that flavor, and you don't have to worry about this chemistry project that you're eating.
Mm.
Um, and I think I also I created Ghana2Go right after I was literally studying for my boards.
Mm.
And that's when I created it. And it was also during the pandemic. So we did have some time.
Mm.
Um, and then I've been doing that since 2018.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 2019. Sorry, 2019. And I decided to also then go like, well, I'm trying to introduce my reality where I live, folks that I know, to what West Africa looks like. And that portion is Ghana. But I decided to like also then start kind of adding seasonal items. So I did like the baskets, the straw baskets from the northern part of Ghana 1 year. And then this summer, I did like the caftans, the boo-boos.
Yeah. That's a hit right now.
It is.
Hit right now.
It is. It is. But with me, it's a seasonal item. So my goal is always, I actually had someone text me like, hey, why don't you have new stuff? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, it's a seasonal I'm moving on to the next thing. My seasoning will always be staple because that's how that is my passion. But no, I'm not. I just try to, because I'm trying to influence and kind of educate on culture. I want people to get a nice mixture of what not only Ghana looks like, but what West Africa looks like, because that's what I can identify with. So yeah, that's what I've kind of been up to.
Yeah, girl. Listen, we're gonna break this down piece by piece. The first thing we're gonna do, because I definitely want to highlight some things that you mentioned. So we're gonna take it back.
Okay.
We're gonna take it back to the beginning, take it back to Crystal growing up uptown. We're uptown. Where are we at?
It's actually oh wow, 810 West Grace. I almost had like a moment.
I know. Okay.
There it is. That's like right by Wiggly Field. So I wasn't. Is that uptown? That's Boys Town. No,
ish.
that's Boys Town.
Ish, like adjacent.
Yeah, kind of
adjacent. If we talking Wrigley, I mean, you're right there. Like most people think of like Irving Park ish, right? Like
yeah.
But like uptown, people uptown really were talking like Wilson, Lawrence,
right.
Like that is uptown, heart of uptown, Broadway.
Right.
So like that. But nevertheless, growing up, you mentioned that you were in Ghana. Were you born here?
Yeah, I was born in
You were born
Chicago.
here, right? And until you
Yeah.
went back home.
Yeah, I went back. Yeah.
Well, how old were you?
I think the first time I went, I was 1 and then came back at like 3.
Okay.
And then the second time I went, I was 7 and
Okay.
came back at like 12
Okay.
or
Yes.
11.
You literally, I mean, you definitely had the back and forth like transnational experience of being able to
Yeah.
go home and spend some time there, grow up and get really acculturated to Ghana and then also be acculturated here. But you
Yeah.
mentioned the idea of like being exposed to cooking and being an honor, right? And so what was your cultural bringing? Like what set those expectations? Was it because you're the oldest or was it because there's some oldest daughters that are like, I had to cook because my mommy made me cook. Like I didn't want to cook.
Right.
Like, I had to stand there. Like even me as the oldest son, like I remember my mom was like, "Well, do you want someone to poison you? Like you know how to cook. Like you think that I'll be letting you, my own son, have someone one jaga jaga.
Yeah.
Come on." So like what was the reason that led you to the kitchen to have that experience or want to help out in the kitchen and start
Okay.
developing your passion long term?
Um, so I was raised by my grandmother. My grandmother was an educator. Um, she was a teacher for I think 20 years, and like another 20 years, she was like a mistress. That's what they call them, principal.
Yeah, yeah, headmistress.
Um, so with her being an educator, I think everything that she taught me, it was just like, I don't know, it was different. It was very organic. It was like, this is what we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I also do come from a family of cooks. Like my aunt had a lot of influence in me, like learning how to mix seasonings and stuff. But my grandmother had a lot of influence on like seasonal stuff. Like, I mean, it's not seasonal, like ethnic. This is what we do culturally. This is what this food means. This is why you eat it. This is the day you eat it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you serve to your guests when they're coming over, things like that. Nothing was ever, I was never forced to do anything.
Okay.
I was just around. I just happened to be around. And it was like an art because
Mm-hmm.
I also believe that when someone loves what they're doing, they're
Yeah.
passionate, it illuminates and it actually it's kind of what's the word? Contagious.
Yeah.
So as a child, I was like, why is she in the kitchen so much? And I was with my grandmother, like I was with her I was the only child at that point. So everywhere she went, I went. So it was natural that I would just follow her and want to do stuff. But that's also more of my personality. Like I really believe see one, teach one. That's how I am. Like I saw it, I wanted to replicate it. And that's what I did. Yeah. I don't know. There's really no culture. I think I just loved it.
No, I mean that's great. I mean, because
Yeah.
I always find it interesting. I've had many conversations, and I'm always interested as to what gave you that push that led you
Yeah.
down this path of being. Because I mean, years later, right? Who would have known, right? Like 20 some odd years later, you are now doing this on another level, right? And so, but what was it like growing up in Ghana for you? I mean, especially coming from America twice,
Yeah.
being with
Yeah.
grandma. And so what was that experience for you? Did you have to adjust? Was it easy to adjust? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, explain that to us.
I think my first time, I didn't remember anything. I would have like snippets. Even when I came back, I remember like as young as 6, like something felt familiar, something sounded familiar when I would see my grandma, see a picture. But the second time around, oh yeah. Um, the second time I thought it was a punishment, but
See that what they do this. People do it as
but
punishment. Like people don't.
yeah, but it was not it was my sibling and I. So I have a sister and I have a brother. Like we all went down. Like we were all there together. Um, I think the first year I probably was very angry. I remember not a year, I'm exaggerating. The couple of months. But then back then, this was the 90s, and I remember going to school and people just being so amazed, like,
You're the
oh,
American.
I'm the American, you know. And I was like, what the hell is this? Um, and, people just wanting to be your friend, and, people wanting to know where you live, like, oh, you're getting dropped off by your driver. Like, because, at that time, things were so cheap,
Yes.
having teachers come home and teach you.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds very lavish now that I even say it, but it was dirt cheap.
Yeah.
It was dirt cheap. Like back then. Now, no.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's very expensive. So eventually I adjusted, but I think the biggest thing is back in the 90s, everybody wanted to come to America,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I was like, oh, I can't wait to leave here. And also my parents weren't with us. I was with my grandmother. So I'm like, I want to go with my parents. Like I want to be where my parents are. Um, I didn't appreciate it back then. I had no idea what I was being given. At my age with my two kids, my goal is to get them there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Same.
Yeah, my goal is to get them there. It was a privilege.
Yeah.
I think one of my closest friends is, I still talk to her. I met her in third grade. And we still talk. She's in Maryland. She actually is the one who connected me with my husband.
Mm.
So yes, it was a privilege. I had no idea what my parents were doing back then. But it was amazing. Now that I'm older, the culture, our education system. I mean, I went to a school where if you didn't do your homework, you got beat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, I was like, what the hell is this? I mean, there was like a respect, an honor code, like your uniform got inspected, you stood in line. Yeah. Back then as a child, I was like, no, my parents hate me. They want me to die.
Not
And
God.
now, no, seriously. I I was just like, I think I had a diary then. I wish I could find this diary. It's probably in our home in Ghana somewhere. And I just used to write in it and just be like, oh my God, they really hate me. But now, Talisha, you have no idea. I was just talking to my godmom. She's in Ghana. I talk to her all the time. And I was like, my goal is just to get the kids there. Yeah. I sound crazy now. I'm like, my goal is because the things that I learned, my perspective, when we talk about poverty here, I'm like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Light work. That's light work. That's light work.
I mean, and it was the 90s. It's not now where these roads are kind of paved a little. We have these new modern homes. It was the 90s where like people, like I remember like we had girls who stayed with us to help and stuff. And I remember like one time we had to go and fetch water and I was like, what is that? Like, why do we like they would turn the water off. It was like, I don't know. It was like 15th century.
Yeah.
It was different.
But it taught you, I mean, you knew how to do things. The reason I envy those who did get a chance to grow up in West Africa back home at a stage where they weren't like pre-adolescent, even adolescent years where you're a little bit conscious of what's going on, is because you end up realizing that there's some things that, like you said, when we think about poverty, there's some things where you're like, washing dishes, like my 13-year-old now, like try to get her to understand that like this dishwasher is not the end of your life. You understand me? Like,
no.
you are the dishwasher.
I don't even use my dishwasher. That's what I'm saying. It's like I kind of don't know how to use it.
I don't know. See, I don't like, so that just give you insight into the Ibe-Lamberts household, right? Like I don't like using the dishwasher. For me, I need to use my hands. Like I need to wash my hands. I need to feel it. It's therapeutic for me. My wife, on the other hand, the dishwasher is like, that is right. Right. She can wash by her hands, but she just loves the convenience of it. And I understand that.
Right.
for my kids, I'm like, listen, I need you to learn how to wash with your hands, because if this thing doesn't exist in court, what are you gonna do? Like, you won't die. Like, you can take your hands, you can wash with water and soap and get right. But just to kind of speak, like you said, in the 90s, right? Like, there's a time where we didn't have the same like advanced technological devices that can distract us. So we outside, we're interacting, we're learning how to talk to people, we're learning how to tell stories, we're learning how to gist. And you would think like, okay, all these things we were just bored, and that's true. That's true to some extent. But we found ways. We learned a lot of skills that now help so much. We're personal. We know how to engage when we get into certain things. We know how to hold conversations. We know how to tell stories. We know how to even listen to stories. Like, we know, like, so those are the things that I feel like, unfortunately, like, I want my kids to be able to develop that. So just as you have that same, like, I want them to go, I'm very much so the same. Like, I definitely want my kids to go and see, go and feel, that experience. You may not be the same as what I did, but I want you to also understand there's a different life out there. And there are people who are happy. And like, it's not like people are like, they're struggling, but they're finding joy within that to some way, shape, or form. So there's a blessing that we definitely have here, but that doesn't mean that without the things that you have here that you can't be happy. People are finding joy and able to make things happen on a day-to-day basis back home. It's like that's the type of stuff. And even for me, like, another thing, like the language, I understand like the language, like when my mom speaks the language, I can get it, but I don't have the same confidence in speaking it because I didn't have the space that supported the practice of me speaking that language. Where if I was back home, I would have to, right? Because if I spoke it, it'd make more sense. That's the common tongue. But here, if you speak it, everybody knows the American accent is there, so it knows it's not the most authentic. Those type of things.
Yeah, no, I mean, my mom still like makes fun at me when I speak the language, just because there is an accent there. Even back home, like when I was in school and I tried, it just, they said it sounded weird.
Yeah.
Listen, I still speak it. You gonna listen to me.
You gonna get this word.
And the more you speak it, the more you do get better. The more, and I was fortunate, like both my parents, even before we moved to Ghana, we were all kind of speaking it because they would speak to us at home. A lot of people from different countries, that's how they operate. There's something with like a lot of West African now, just, oh, they must know English. English will come. English will come. You're taught English every day at school. You speak English at work. You speak, like, it will come. You are educated with English. So I do appreciate my parents, like, making sure we spoke that. But I just wanted to add something else because I know you were talking about like how we have like the skills and, how to maneuver. And I was telling my 10-year-old that I was like, okay, how can I have you escape realities? Because that's what Ghana was. It was like escaping little realities sometimes. And I was around there at the time where we had scheduled light off. That's what it's called when the power will go off.
Y'all had scheduled.
We had scheduled. No, ours was scheduled. It was bad. It was out of the week. You would not have power for maybe 3 days out of the week, and then the following would be 4 days. At that time, we didn't have no generator. I thought my dad could get it, but he didn't want to get it. We didn't. We had lanterns. I
had candles. I know that life. Oh my God. The lantern.
You forget. But you know what? You know what I ended up developing? An imagination. Because I didn't have access to TV when I wanted to. There was no power. I read more.
Me too.
And I remember the power would go off and my grandma would just like gather us around, we'll be outside, kind of like, what Anansi's stories are, right?
Yeah, story.
And my grandmother, she has such a, God bless her soul, rest in peace. She has such a rich history, and she would just tell us about her childhood, the things that happened, how they went to school, like maybe fables. I don't know if they were true. Sometimes I think about, I'm like, was she making that up? But it was the interconnection. And ended up telling my son the other day, in order to sometimes escape this reality of the phone, of the internet, of the busyness, the game, you have to read.
Yeah.
You have to turn everything off and just read a book, because I felt like that's where I grew the most, because I had to sometimes escape the reality of not having power, not being able to, I don't know, go to Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know what we were doing at that age here in the States, but not having those access, but having a book. And even then, they didn't have no libraries there. So my mom would like buy me like the Goosebump, like the trilogy.
Oh, yes, the
What is
whole
it? Sweet Valley
yeah,
High.
Sweet Valley High. Come
All
on,
of,
man.
and
Animorphs, like, come
I
on.
would read through those, and I was, even then people were like, oh, can I, I was fortunate to have those. They didn't have, like, those books were expensive there. But yeah, I just wanted to add that maybe that helps. Like, that's what I tell my 10-year-old
Yeah.
now. Like, you need to read.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I agree completely. And so now we'll kind of shift it to coming to the States, coming back to the States.
Oh God.
Adjustment there, because you back when you're in Ghana, you're the cool, like you're the one that stands out. Like, oh my God, the American is here. Like, oh, I want to be her friend. Oh,
Yes.
like,
Can I come over?
can I come to your house saying, oh, you have a
Yes.
driver. Oh, but now you
Yeah.
come back to America and it's like, now we back uptown. And so what was that adjustment like coming back? And this time you were here to stay. So like, how did you go about readjusting to being back in the States and then leading life, because that's by that time you're talking junior high, high school. That's
Yeah. I started, when I came back, I started 8th grade.
okay. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Started 8th grade. I forgot what exam needs to be taken to get into high school.
I remember. I know what you're talking
What is that? I still don't remember that exam. I didn't take it because that exam was taken in
was the
7th
Iowa?
grade.
Was it? No, the Iowa test was something different. Iowa
It
test
was something that you need to get into like the prep schools.
yeah,
Like
it wasn't ACT, SAT, was it that?
no, that's high school going into
Yeah,
college.
no, I don't know.
I think it was something. And I remember everyone took it in 7th grade, but I happened to come in. So they had to like make an exception and have me like take it to see where I could place for high school. Well, kind of coming back. Yes, it was very different. I was no longer the cool kid. But one thing with me is my grandmother like raised me so different. And sometimes when you have when you read and have insight and perspective on just, I don't know, I feel like, yes, I was what, 11, maybe 12. I don't know what 8th grade, but at that time, I felt like I was 15,
Sure.
14.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I was like, what is this? What are you guys doing? What are you guys talking about? Oh, this is what you're talking about? A waste of time. Because, right.
Because things to worry about, man.
Exactly.
Other things on your mind.
I was actually being bullied, but let me tell you, Kalechi, I didn't even know I was being bullied.
Yeah, me, yeah.
It was my 8th grade teacher, Miss Winbuckner. Her son, Cam Winbuckner. I don't, Cam Winbuckner.
Oh yeah,
he went to UF.
Yeah,
that was my 8th.
You talking about the senator, the representative?
Yes.
And Big Cam. That was at U of I? Yeah.
His mom was my 8th grade teacher.
Wow.
His mom was the one who sent out, I don't know what they did, if they called parents back then. And my mom had to come to the school, and it was like 3 girls. To this day, I don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
But the story was that they were bullying me, like they were sending messages like I was, the girl from Africa, blah, blah, blah. My hair was weird, and they said those things, but I used to be like, oh, whatever. You could barely read. But but I didn't know. I didn't even know that was bullying. I was taught to move on.
Exactly.
And here goes this teacher like, no. They can't do that to you. Like she was shielding me and protecting me, and I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So she stepped in. She was like, you work so hard. Like I've never seen an eighth grader work like this? Like your dedication and the fact that you're not like sobbing and crying about they won't. I remember like it was one time lunch. I would sit and they would like move and I'd be like, oh, whatever. And they saw those things and I was just like, well, you know, my grandma would be like, well, just don't talk to them. When you come home, you can call your friends.
Right.
But, you know, most Americans, you know, that becomes a problem.
Right.
Because it's just your upbringing. I was just brought different. Like, there were just bigger things to worry about. And then I also came from a place where I guess at one point I was like popular. And then I come to this place where I'm no longer, but that's not my main focus. Because my focus, I've been told that I need to be educated and be the best.
Exactly.
Right. And that is like, it's literally like you joining the CIA, but being taught something, you know, like you're being programmed and channeled to be the best.
You're the oldest.
And I'm the oldest.
You have a bar to set.
Because if I fall, my siblings fall.
Exactly.
That was always the conversation. If I don't do it, they won't do it. And it'll be your fault.
Exactly. Same. Same life. That's the same.
It will be your fault.
Yeah.
So you better figure it out, you know? So yeah, so it was not great. I remember I took that test. I did not do well on the math portion because in Ghana, we follow the UK standard. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think you guys like use board mass. We use Echo. We use something else in terms of like how you arrange stuff. So if I use what I was taught and I bring it here, the answer will be wrong.
Yeah.
And it was like little stuff like that. So at that time, everyone was like applying to like their North Side prep because I went to Alcott. I went to
Alcott, Louisa May Alcott.
Yeah, May Alcott.
Yeah.
I went to Alcott. And everybody's going Winnie Young.
That was such a nice school. My mom took me there. I remember my mom took me there and she wanted me to go there, but I think there was like the geographical, like it didn't work out.
Yeah, it was a lottery system.
Oh yeah,
it was a lottery system.
Oh, such a nice.
I think my mom was freaking out because our neighborhood school at that time was Greeley.
Okay.
Or was it Greeley? No, Greeley's a high school, right? Or
yeah, Greeley High School. Greeley.
It was a school across the street.
I remember that. Horace Greeley High School.
No, it's not a high school. It's Lakeview. That's our high school.
Lakeview?
Yeah, Lakeview is our neighborhood school.
Yeah, I know Lakeview.
Greeley is the public school. And my mom was like, you guys cannot go there. No, I don't want you guys to go there. So we literally were just like walking around looking at all of these CPS school on Broadway. Uh-huh. And I remember we had to like put our name down, the lottery system. And that's how it was like super last minute. And that's how we got in. But I remember this was the first country I was told that I wouldn't amount to anything. You know, as young as being in 8th grade, like, oh, you can't get into this school. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, they look for people who've done A, B, C, and D. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to still apply because
why not?
Why not? Like, okay, you know. So that was the transition. It wasn't easy now that I look back, but it was like, I was so young and so naive to even what was around me that in my head, it was going great.
Yeah. You know, the thing about it is, and not to, this is just something you just, based off what you said, it just kind of sparked something in my mind that kind of, and I was going to bring this up down the line in the conversation in terms of just like the African-American and African immigrant like perspective, because I think we come to this is not a shade, but this is just kind of seems to be a consistent theme because we come to the country, especially those who are like oldest and, you know, you've already kind of seen it, you're more mature when you come to the States.
Yeah.
Like we have a different perspective. Like our focus is, we're not coming to the country thinking about racism. We're not coming to the country thinking about, you know, that's not what it's to be successful, be the best, and go make your siblings, make your family proud, like go take care of your kids. So like, you know, when no one is sitting, and also we come from countries where I know I can definitely speak personally for myself, where like, we know how to chop insults. Like, it's like, so if you, there's nothing, I tell people, I used to tell my wife all the time, there's nothing you tell me that my mom hasn't told me about myself.
Right. Because You've been told that you are the worst.
Exactly. You've been told so many things. Like that you be like, yo, like I didn't think you can insult me like this. But so when you get here, you're just like, oh, please, like
Whatever.
whatever. You know what I mean? So like we have a certain it's not even necessarily thick skin, it's just we're so that's not that is, we've been through so much of that. Whereas like
Right.
and we understand like many of us come knowing that like, okay, this isn't necessarily trauma. Like we just this is part of the upbringing and we know that our parents love us and they showed us in this certain way, but like we come to the country and we're more focused on the prize, on achieving after,
Right.
right? On becoming successful. So
Right.
the other stuff like bullying or like what? My parents
Right.
bullied me.
Right.
Like you talking about
They
you're
are
not
the
you try
bully.
to say you're not my bully, my mom is, right? Like you're not
Right.
and that's the person. So you're not worried
Yeah.
about those things. So I feel like sometimes our mentality is a little bit more, we have a little bit more laser focus. So, but when we're here, we definitely are reminded about some of those more social justice things where it's like, no, this isn't right. Like, this isn't something you know you should be accepting and tolerating.
Right.
So I always find that interesting because when you brought that up as far as like the girls you were talking to and how they were responding or how you were responding, it kind of makes me think about the larger picture because most Africans come in, especially well, I think nowadays we're more aware, but back then in the 90s for sure, like we were not thinking about. I wasn't thinking about you call me the N word. Was that? I don't. That's not my
And
business.
you tell your parent, they be like, "Are you the N
And then
word?"
exactly, and they be like, are you that? Why you even wasting our time? Like, why you even getting into like, are you that? Like, is that your name? And like, no,
Right.
why are you upset? Right. But
Right.
again, right. Like now for those African Americans who are listening, again, we're not necessarily poo-pooing that. I understand me personally, I understand the history and I understand the things that come with that historically and why that is a trigger for those who are and whose ancestors have been through that. But for us, immigrants who came in and didn't necessarily understand that, right? Those things were not necessarily going to harm or create any type
Right.
of response in
Right.
that regard emotionally. So we were just like, okay, whatever. This is just another insult, right? Of course, as we grow, we got older, we understood, we become more educated,
Right.
more acculturated,
Right.
we understood
Right.
the history behind it.
Right. Right. And as we grow older, we realize what that segregation
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
and that there's not like a nice box for each of us saying like, oh well, from Nigeria, from Kenya, from, you
right,
know, it's like you're black.
exactly.
You know, if you're getting pulled over, you're black.
Black.
No one dissects your blackness
Mhm.
or your household or whatever, you know, West African country or South African country you came from. You and I think we all are there now. We're like, oh, okay, well, this is why, you know, people are so upset or yeah, because yeah. It's I mean, it's the reality of this country. I always say that.
Yeah. You know,
And
I mean,
it's just what it is.
it is what it is. And we don't continue to move forward. But so okay. So
Mhm.
now we're getting adjusted. We're back in the States. We've gone through all of this stuff. So was your perspective based off this experience that you just described? Was your perspective on like African Americans or people that were not Africans? Did you have friends? Did you separate yourself? What was the relationship? How did you perceive African Americans or people who are non-Africans when you were there or growing up in
In Chicago.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, junior high was like only 1 year, and then high school. Um, you know,
Where was high school? You didn't go to Lakeview, right?
no,
So,
I went to Lincoln Park.
oh, Lincoln Park. Okay, okay, okay.
I went to Lincoln Park. So I think again, because my focus, like I was literally like groomed to be like, you must be this or
Mhm.
you must do this. If you were gonna be my friend, fine. If you weren't, then get out my way.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? Like that was my perspective. I had African American friends. I had I had Ghanaian friends, but I had Ghanaian friends based off of like family friends, you
right.
know.
Together.
I couldn't like go out like, you know, and just
None of us could go out, girl. What?
I mean, it depends. Like, but anyway, I just so I had, you know, you know, if you were nice, we clicked, you were my friend. I never was like really taught like, oh, this person or this race or this type of blackness. No, I was always taught who is going to get you straight A's, who is
Yeah.
going to help you get straight A's, or what is your deficiency, and who can help you, and you may be able to help them in their deficiency. So I always had like white, black, whatever, because the friendships were mainly study groups.
Mhm.
That was the focus. So you like kind of, I want to say, even with high school, like I think it was U of I that I realized, like, oh, okay, that's what that was,
Yeah, yeah.
like, oh, there's some bias towards, like, oh, well, Africans think they're better than us, or, Africans look down on us, or that's when I actually was like, oh, that's what that was.
That's how y'all feel? I did not know, but listen, I was too busy trying to get my mom off my back with these straight A's, so
Yeah.
I didn't.
Then I started to understand, like, oh, that's why she was acting like that. Or like when I made a comment or made a statement, she was like, "What, do you think you're better than me?" Because I did get that a couple of times, but I was like, "What are you talking about?" But I want to say I was so naive that I think U of I is where I was like, "Oh, okay, this is really okay. This is what's really happening." And again in high school, I mean, my freshman year, I think I worked for the school. I worked for Lincoln Park my freshman year. I worked as a shampoo girl.
Wow.
Yeah. My aunt, well, my god sister owned. She didn't own. She worked at a shop, and it was like some Ghanaians and another lady there. And I would work for them. I would on the weekends. I had all of these extracurricular activities. I honestly don't even think I had time to think of the social issues in this country.
Yeah.
I was booked and busy my 4 years. I had times I hung out, but I kept a job all 4 years of high school. Like at one point I had 4 jobs, I think. And it was just like, okay, I gotta let one go. I think my junior year, I joined, they had like the work study program.
Mhm.
And I quickly signed up for that. I'm like, oh, I can leave early and so I can go to work. Because then I also understood what financial freedom was at that early age. Like I was told, like, if you want this, you need to go and work for it. But you better make sure you don't get less than a B or an A. You can get 1 B or 2 Bs, but you better get all A's, and you better work for it. So I honestly worked. I worked. I would help my mom with my siblings. Like if they needed stuff, like I would get it. Like I remember US Cellular. I got my first cell phone.
US Cellular.
It was $10. I
At
paid
9
for that.
p.m. Anytime.
Yep.
Anytime after 9, baby. What? We was
Call
on
me.
Call
I'm
me.
available. Don't call me before 9.
Don't you dare.
Was they giving us like 600 minutes or something? I don't even know what that equates to.
I had a calm 400 minutes and I was running it. But 9 o'clock, listen, I was up all night and you could catch me. I was using those minutes on the subway because I remember US Cellular, we were the only ones that had the subway.
Oh, yes. It would work under the red line. Yes, it did. It did. It did. It did. Oh. My focus was always different. Like I chatted when I wanted to. Like I kind of did things on my own term. Like I was just like, we need to get this money, okay? Because I have things to buy at that young age. Because that's what I was told. I was told I wasn't going to be given anything. I was told you need to work for it. Like you were living in Ghana thinking you were a princess, but hello, welcome to the world.
Yeah.
Here is America. You work and you figure it out. So U of I was nice because you get to back up, you get to join like different social groups on a academic level and just on a social level where you're able to dissect and be like, well, this is what that means. And I'm like, oh, for real?
Yeah.
Word?
Yeah. I mean, I think, the interesting thing that you bring up is that whole idea of like financial freedom and working, right? And not even having time to not even having time to do any of those types of things that even get caught up in that. For me, it didn't dawn on me until that whole like, are you better than me mentality. I remember because coming from Nigeria at a young age, when I was in grade school, right? Our grading system wasn't just like who's all A, who's all B. It was like first, second, third, right? Like
Yes.
rankings.
Yeah.
So if you ask me, do you think I'm better than you? I was like, look, I am better than you, right? Because that was the mentality. So I didn't understand in context like what they were saying when they were asking. You're asking me if I'm better than you. If I'm first in the class, absolutely I'm better than you.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
my mentality. That wasn't like that. So I would say like, yeah, I'm better than you, like because look at
Right.
right. So it wasn't until high school actually that I had did something similar. I don't remember what I did, but one of the teachers like was the one that kind of was like, "Oh, you're so arrogant" or something. And I was like, "What do you mean? I'm proud of myself. Like, do you know how hard?"
Right.
But I didn't understand that. But that was then. That was one of the things that led me, and I had to reflect on it retroactively, like or retrospectively. Like I had to think about it. I was like, "Yo, like that moment, I think changed things for me a little bit because it then made me realize that like." Okay, yes, you definitely want to be smart, but not everybody likes somebody that is like
Right.
too smart.
Right.
And
I
so now
think
you have to negotiate
yeah, you need
a
to
little
tweak
bit.
it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I had a good understanding. I think maybe that incident in eighth grade, it did teach me something
Mm.
because in high school, no one really knew what I was doing. They didn't even know I was taking AP classes, you know. They were just like, oh, like I was there, you know. I was like, hey, hi, bye, you know. I didn't talk about my grade. I don't even know who I talked about with my grade. Like I might talk about a bad exam, right? Because you notice that people will talk about the worst.
Mm-hmm.
We don't ever talk about,
No,
well, some
not
people, yeah,
yeah.
most of the time. And that's just the way I was. I would talk about, so I think when it was ready to go to college, like some people were like, oh, you're going to college? Yeah.
Is that ever
What do
not an
you,
option?
like, what do you mean? And I think also it's very confusing because, you know, I was working a lot. So sometimes when they would have parties, like, man, I got to go to work. You know, I did go to some because they were late nights, but I did go to some. But most it's like, oh, like, how many jobs do you have? Or the people who know, the people who didn't know that I, you know, did work, they'll be like, oh, is her family wealthy? Because I understood
Mm.
in high school that if I were, I could buy myself Jordans or whatever, you know, whatever I wanted to buy at that time. So I was like, shoot, I'm getting a job because that, you know, but I think what I learned from that is that I kind of also grew up so fast. Like I didn't have time to, you know, I didn't have time for people to really get to know me. They knew what I showed them or what I told them, but they didn't really, really know me. Like some people didn't even know just, you know, that previous year or 2 year I was in Ghana. Like I lived in Ghana. They didn't know that.
Mm.
Not that I didn't disclose it because, you know, I was ashamed. I was just like, we gotta go.
Mhm.
Like there was always this engine running and I don't know what was chasing me. That's what it felt like. Like maybe it was my dad's voice. I don't
The
know.
pressure of being the oldest and your parents' voice, right? Like I
Yeah.
always was
Yeah.
reminded by my parents, like don't mess up, don't let up, don't fall, don't fail, don't miss the right.
Right.
You know, my dad would always say,
Right.
you don't miss the bus, don't miss. You got to get on the right bus because if you miss this bus, right, that's his
That's it.
if you miss it, then you're screwed, right? So he would always it
Yeah.
was the voice in the back of my head. So for me, it was like I always got to go get it, right? Like everybody be like, oh, you know, Kel's just you're so young for your age. Why are you even in this grade? You should take what?
Right. Right.
Like I can't
Right.
afford it, you know. So I mean, I definitely can relate to those experiences, and it's always a reminder for me, just even how parallel our lives are sometimes based off just some of the cultural
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
expectations that we have.
Yeah. Yeah. The pressure.
Mm-hmm. Pressure is a real
Most
thing.
of yeah.
Okay, so now, all right, we've high school. Now you've talked a little bit about U of I, and so we won't get too much into the U of I thing because I think you've kind of captured a lot of the things that you learned during that experience. But then, what happened after U of I? Like, girl, you disappeared. Like, I don't
I
remember.
disappear.
So because now we got to get to like. I mean, you told me randomly you said 2 kids and a husband. I mean, we gonna have to get to that point too. But
I
what
think a
happened?
lot of people don't know I even have a
I think
husband.
you think a lot of people don't know. I'm pretty sure we don't because I like but yeah. So I want to know what that because most of us is usually we've been told we need to be doctor, we need to be lawyer, engineer. But you just said, okay, you was like, listen, you're gonna pursue being a PA. But I remember at undergrad, that wasn't always the case. So what happened?
No, yeah. So I think in undergrad, we all went in thinking we were gonna, I don't even know. I think at the time I wanted to do pharmacy.
Yeah.
And then I think we all took like Chem 101 or something. It was like,
And
no,
learn.
absolutely not. I'm gonna have a good time.
That long Kappa, I was like, absolutely not. I'm done.
I'm going to have a good time, and community health sounds like a good time. And it was the first time we were away from our parents, right? So I'm like, do they really know what this is? Um, and I was like, we'll get to the doctor stuff later. We'll get to it. For now, no. So I think I started off trying to be a pharmacist. Then I think I actually shadowed a pharmacist too, and I was like, absolutely not doing this. And then I did community health. When we graduated, what did I? Oh, I worked for a consulting company. We graduated at the height of the recession.
Yep.
Like there was like no job.
2010.
And then I look, I found a job. I found a job graduating at U of I. And oh boy, that was a terrible company.
Yeah.
Like, I think I lasted like 4 or 5 months. Super, super racist. Like, I think that was my first time. Like, again, like U of I was like a nice melting pot.
Mm-hmm.
We all talked to each other. Like, I don't know if it was, I feel like there has to be some, what's the word? I was naive again in terms of just like race relationships because you like you said it, we're not taught that.
Yeah.
We're not taught we're just not taught that. And when I went to U of I think U of I was like one of the first places that I talked about, but then I actually worked for a company that displayed that. I was like, absolutely not. I would travel. I would travel between Detroit and Chicago. And at that time, I was like, I don't even think this is what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do. And I was like, damn, this is unfortunate. I just spent 4 years. I did all of this work. I've been working so hard since high school, worked hard at U of I. And now I'm like, I still don't know what I want to do, Took some time and I was like, oh, maybe I'll go to medical school. So then I started preparing for medical school. And
I'll come home empty-handed.
Listen, I was like, okay, maybe I can apply for medical school. Yep. I got married at 23. Like we literally just went to the courthouse and got married. Why are you looking at that?
No, because I'm like, girl, like I'm looking like really like
I got married really young. I got married really young.
I'm like 20, I'm like 23. That was like
23. Yeah, I think I was 23. Yeah, 23. I got married at 23. Yeah, 23.
What was that? 2014? 2015? Or 2013?
I think we're going on our 12-year anniversary.
Okay, so yeah, you're definitely like 2012.
Yeah, 2012. Yeah, that sound right. Yep. 2 years out of school. Yep. So I got married. Like no one knew. Like I got married in the city. I don't, and I think like you've known me, but I never really talk about like I tell like the people who don't know me, like I close friends, they will know sometimes, and they sometimes don't even know. I was just always taught to kind of like keep things to myself, not in a bad way, but just like, like make sure things are okay before you start talking about it, Then I think when I was preparing for med school or to take was it MCAT? Look, I don't even know the test. MCAT. I realized that I was pregnant and my god sister is a physician. She was like, man, I hate what not hate. Well, yeah, she does.
Listen, I'm married to one, so I
can. Just like you, yeah. She was like, you have no idea, like the time that is taken away from you. It is just ridiculous, and when you get back, So either this is your God calling gift versus I just want to do something because my parents told me to do something. You should really think about it. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I don't want to do that. And at that time, I lived in North Carolina with my husband. My husband was in the Marine Corps. So we were in North Carolina. And then when he got out, we moved to Virginia, like we were in Woodbridge, which is like maybe 20, 30 minutes away from DC. So he was working there. And, I kind of stayed home with I think my son for maybe till he was like 10, 11 months. Then I started taking classes because I was like, I started looking up like PA because I was like, I need to find something, I've always liked the healthcare field, but I just did not want to commit my time to going to medical school. Then I I ran a couple of home health places out there. Then, I applied to PA school in Ohio. They moved back to Chicago with my mom to stay with my mom. So I was literally gone from maybe 20, because my son Caleb was born 2013. I've been like on the run from 2013 to maybe 2019. Hence why no one knew where the hell I was. Because I wasn't in Chicago.
I'm gonna title this episode "Gone Girl." just what? Yo,
yeah.
All of this happening. My God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
I was trying to figure life out, and I had a family. It was hard. I had to also make sure like my son was okay. We sold our place in Virginia and my husband had to move back in my mom's apartment, her 2-bedroom apartment, so I can go to PA school in Ohio. And then I moved back here in 2019. And then as soon as I moved, the pandemic happened. So I can even sit for boards till 2020. So that is why when people see me, they're like, wait, you look familiar. Oh yeah, where have you been? Because I was gone. I would dip in and out of Chicago for like when friends would have stuff. I would come, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I moved around.
So okay. So we we made it through, got the PA, became a PA, and then pandemic hits. Your mom, your wife, you're doing a pandemic thing, and we haven't even brought up the cooking, right? The cooking thing.
Right.
You've been doing that just low key as a hobby, as a thing you've just been enjoying and sharing as a secret talent. But then you're like, you know what? I wanna actually change and create these seasonings. And so what was the response like when you first started making the seasonings with Ghana2Go and started putting this, like what type of support did you get? What type of response and feedback did you get when you had your first one? And like how has it been growing, and how's it growing still? And like where do you think
I think at the beginning people were just like, are you okay?
Why are people like this? But okay.
My family.
It be your own people. It be your own.
They looked at me like, so wait, are you not going to be a PA? And I'm like, well, no, I am a PA. Like, I'm going to practice. But, like, I forgot to mention like little things in between us graduating U of I went to Ghana for like 4 months, like, and hosted like shoe parties, like things that they didn't have that I knew they would buy. Like, I'm a businesswoman at heart, People don't know that, like, I've always, to this day, I always have something brewing in Ghana, like on a trade level. Ghanaians, 80% of Ghanaians are entrepreneurs.
Thanks, man.
And and I've always like that. I've always had like a side hustle, no matter what. I had a side hustle in Ghana because I know people in Ghana and they let me know what people need. And I'm like, well, shoot, I could get it. How can I help and also make a profit?
That for those listening, I know if who've been like, yo, these are just two friends catching up and they ain't really talking.
Yeah.
This is the transnational piece that I want y'all to understand, is that to be able to say, hey, look, I'm here in the States. I know what's going on. I have my ear also connected to Ghana, and I'm able to get what they need and be able to leverage the best of both worlds. Like that is you was doing. So that's what you've been doing even since like undergrad.
I've been selling. So I started like trading and stuff in Ghana 2012, the year I got married to my husband. Because then we when we went back to Ghana, and I said, "Yo, do you see what I see?
Opportunity."
Like, I was like, and to be fair, my aunt had like a salon that was like thriving, doing well. So I was like meeting like more affluent Ghanaians who were like, well, when you come, why don't you bring me this? We'll buy it, right? Or like, why don't you should say. So I was like, how can we make it cute? And I started throwing like these shoe parties, like of things that they did not want to just get on a plane and get because it wasn't there at that time. Now it is much better. Now there is competition. Like people have figured out our utopia. Like this is, but still I always figure out like, what is the need? Like, what can I do to continue to bridge the gap? And I've done that in Ghana since 2012, still do it. And then that's when I also decided, like, hey, I also need to do something here. Because at the end of the day, our parents, and, parents who may be listening, correct me if I'm wrong, their definition of success is earning a degree.
Yes.
Right? And getting the highest degree. The other day, my mom was like, are you going to go get a doctorate? And I said, and do well with it. And do well with it. Like, and hang it.
My dad,
look at it.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you, my dad. I just got 2016. I just got my doctorate, and I just proposed to my fiance in front of everybody on graduation. All right, my dad hits me up that same evening. I think it was either evening or the next morning. It was like, "Oh, now that you have your doctorate, let's go and get another." I was
another doctorate.
I literally looked at him. I didn't even blink.
And who's paying for that?
Like, 1, 2, you go get it. Like, you're a doctor. You're already. My dad's a doctor already. But I'm like, if you want to go relive that, you go get it again because
exactly.
I'm not stressing. No, but yeah, that.
I feel like they kind of like send offs too. You gotta watch them because they mean well. They come, they'll tell you all like the sad, boring stories of their lives to make you feel like if you don't achieve this,
you're going to fail the whole.
You're going to like let their passage of, I don't know, walking on stones to get to the airport, whatever story they be concussion up at home. And I had to learn. It took me I was like, wait, hold up. Mm-hmm. Either I'm living your dream or you just have the definition of what success is supposed to look like, right? And that's what I do envy sometimes from, other like Americans that live here.
It says, speak on it. We're gonna speak on it right now because you're tapping into something that I'm actually doing like outside of this, right? Like in my work. That when we have these community conversations, one of the things that I wanted to continue to express to African immigrants specifically is that we come to the country to survive and not thrive. You get what I'm saying? We come to survive daily bread. Like you said, because then we put everything, and when I say I mean the older first gen Africans, they put everything on their kids and they put all the hopes on their kids to be successful. And now we appreciate that and we understand the sacrifice. But then there's also that idea of like, okay, you two, you're getting older, right? And that's been my work now, like working with the older, but there are resources out here where other other immigrant communities take advantage. They establish businesses, they take advantage of investing in retirement and doing all those other things that told growing up that's what the white people do, that we don't do that because we have a home back home and we send our money there.
Right.
And so the issue is that, but we are here and you're here most of the time. And even though everybody puts money in back home, many of the times you don't find yourself going back home because your kids and your grandkids are here. And you know what I mean? And so now you want to spend time with them and you want to be here in the States. So you really don't go back home like that. Unless you've established some people have the luxury where their kids are able to go home more frequently and do that. But most times you end up staying here more than longer than you thought you would, because so in the midst of that, you never invested in the resources and the things in place to create wealth that moves downstream. because most of the time what happens is that our wealth goes upstream because I put all my resources in you, the child. You've now become a doctor. Now it's time
Right.
to take care of me because
Oh God, the
you get
poor
what I'm saying?
man's mentality. I
Exactly.
know.
Where we don't have the thing where we're building from the top and it goes down from kid to kid,
Right.
kid to kid, right? We
Right.
don't invest in assets. We don't. So those are the
Right.
things that, like you said, like we have to try and get them out of that mindset. I definitely envy that because I see other communities they're able to establish, Korea towns, China towns, and within those they have businesses, they have their own clinics, they buy their own
Right.
buildings.
Right.
They
Right.
develop all those
Right.
resources that allow for them to be able to pass it on to the kids to take over family businesses, whatever the case may be, that they
Right.
take on. We don't have enough of that yet
No.
at all.
No. I mean, the fact that the Ghanaian community still don't even have like a entertainment hall. And I'm like, but how is that even like why? Why are
Ghana
you
Fest is a
guys
thing. Like they
renting?
should be doing this
Like,
at
why are
this
you guys renting from other people when we've been here
for so
this
long.
long? Like, why is there someone profiting on that? Um, and I just I have more of an understanding of it now that I'm just like, you know what? I don't know who hurt them. That's what I always say. But they're just like, no, no, no. If you become a nurse, that's job security. Like they're so scared that someone's gonna break up with them, like, or you and leave you like, oh no, no. If you do like a business degree, like, all that's what all the white people want. Like you don't want to be there because they're just gonna push you out. But like if you're a nurse and like, no one wants to really do that. And I'm
A
like,
nurse
wait, what?
boy, my God, CNA to the top, all the way. It doesn't matter from CNA to LPN. That is the ultimate safety net for most
Like,
African
wait,
immigrants.
yes, because there's this fear of like, you need to find what they don't want to do and
You
clinch
got
to
to do
it
it.
because they have no choice but to hire you. It's kind of like, I have friends who like, oh, I wanted to, I don't know, be a stylist. I wanted to, but my mom or dad was like, absolutely not. And I'm like, then you turn around and now with, Instagram and like social media being a big thing now, and you turn around and look at another African being like an African who dared on themselves being a stylist, and you're like, damn,
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
told that wouldn't work.
that wouldn't work. I was told that was a waste of time.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah,
No, but not to interrupt. I mean, you were talking. So yeah, you've been developing the business and you've been developing relationships and been doing this for over a decade. And now you started with the seasoning and you've moved on to
yeah,
the seasonal clothing, right?
yeah.
And so like what do you hope to like establish? What do you think would be the like what do you expect to let me frame it in the way I'll say like what do you want it to be for your company where you can be able to say, okay, we did what we wanted to do. Like what is your peak outcome?
Well, just having the opportunity to kind of always be able to go to Ghana. Like I think the last time I went was 2 years ago. I haven't, which is probably the longest. There is a need there. The need there is, I know like Ghana is a very nice tourist country now, but
I was gonna ask about that.
living, yeah, living there and knowing people there and knowing that, we have a high amount of educated folks, even our age group, like who are just struggling to find just like regular work. I'm not even talking about work that their credentials, like they're just looking for regular work, like I don't know, retail level work. There's not enough jobs in Ghana. There's not enough opportunities, right? And initially, when I created Ghana2Go, it was like, oh, because I like to cook and I make my own seasoning. I can like introduce people to that. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, nope, it's bridging these gaps, right? Being able, so like every seasonal item that I do, I don't do it, right? It's outsourced. It's just a thought like, hey, I wanted this color, I want this material, but it is me putting money back into someone's pocket. It is me saying, like, I need this by this deadline, meaning you're going to have to hire more people, right? and creating that opportunity. Although it is seasonal, I just want people to see what the country can showcase, right? And that's why I always say, like, the seasonal items, I try to move on to the next thing, right? Because I want to show the talent and I want to, I really know it can thrive here, it could do well, depending on how you market it, how you sell it, what you say, who it's coming from. But I honestly, like, everything that I do, I'm very intentional about it, making sure the item is from Ghana, even if the item is not made in Ghana, but it was, if it was exported into Ghana, that I'm at least buying it, creating some level of income in Ghana to, in order to just keep that machine wheel going versus cutting the middleman and being like, oh, I'm gonna no. I want I want Ghana to be a place where people can also find employment. Like they need more jobs, bottom line. And that's what I thought of. And I was like, well, how can I do that? And that's what I did. But yeah, my goal is, people with, people traveling to Ghana and liking Ghana, that they also learn and appreciate what Ghana can give. Because sometimes when you travel, you can't see everything. So me pinpointing like special items, like this is what can be created, maybe putting my spin on it, but then showcasing it. Yeah.
So but we're Ghana becoming more, like you said, tourist friendly. You got a lot of people now that are moving back, a lot of people that are even coming and becoming citizens there. Like, do you think that this so-called return that's happening, do you think that can also help create more economic like opportunities? Or do you think, because I've been told, I haven't been to Ghana since like 2012, but
Okay.
but the I've been told that things are very much so expensive now. Like my mom went in January and she was like, yo, it
It's
is
bad.
crazy. Because back
It's
in the day,
bad,
like,
Kalechi.
tell me it's a lot more expensive now. The economy is just, the cities is just, it's not that
It's
far off.
terrible.
You
I
know?
I I'm in for I love the tourism. I
Yeah.
love it. However, I talk to people there on a daily basis as a businesswoman, as a mother,
Yeah.
right? As a niece, as a cousin. And I'm like, huh? You know, I'm I'm just trying to I'm trying to understand how they even afford food now. Because when I take our money and change it, I'm like, you wait, what? That's expensive. And I know how much you make. You don't even make $300 a month,
Mm.
right? It is a disservice in some way because I don't talk about policies, but I don't know what the system is. I don't know. I have no idea what is going on because if we are getting this influx of people, I also think that that money should create jobs, should create, I don't know, better roads, better schools, even let's just say jobs, because like I said, most people are educated in Ghana. Most they will sell their kidney to go and educate their child. Like education is extremely important. But you have all of these people going to school, so they have the system of education is free. I think it's a high school or something. I think university you have to pay. What is the point of us educating all of these people if we have no jobs?
Some people leave.
Like, I just don't. I'm like, our parents did it. Did anyone not get the formula? Like, why? And it just breaks my heart because there's, people our age, people that I went to school with, people that I know are so intelligent, and they're stagnant and just moving up
It's hard.
because there's not. So yes, I tell people like, yeah, it's nice to travel, but I think about the locals. I think about how inflation has affected them because yeah, when you leave here and you change $100, you get a lot of money and you can buy whatever you want. But the reality is most people are not even earning $100 a month.
Not even close. Like,
Not even close.
it's real. My dad came here this summer from Nigeria. And I have these conversations with family members, but like even now, like a bag of rice, you know what I mean? Like to even get a bag of rice now, right? And my dad was telling me like, yo, to eat like bread, like to eat bread is a rich man's food, which is crazy to me, right? Because I be sitting here complaining about my kids not eating the split ends of the bread and y'all ain't wasting it. And I get so upset because I'm like, yo, there are people now who are like looking for that bread that you're sitting here telling me that is just, you don't want to eat that part because that's the end of the butt of the bread, right? You know what I'm saying? And so it just puts things in perspective.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you sharing that because I think we get caught up, even myself sometimes, we get caught up in the idea where it's like, okay, well, yeah, Americans are coming, people are coming to Ghana. We have, the return and, Detsy December and everybody doing Afrochella and their opportunities. All these things. So you think, okay, Ghana's booming, right? Ghana should be booming. Things should be popping now. There should be opportunities and people should be taking advantage. We should be, there should be touristic opportunities, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Inflation is crazy.
Yeah, I think it's, it's a nice vacation spot if you got it, like absolutely. But I don't know. I always just say it's the citizens that I'm worried about. It's just the people who live there. Because when you have people that you love, people that you know, you're just like, whoa, wait a minute. And like I say this, like we all can't live here, right? Like, and it's Ghana is so beautiful that I want us all to go back home, right? But like if it's not being, yeah, in the sense I know people talk about like, oh, they're buying homes, and yeah, because it's cheap if you get your pension. You're in your own utopia. But if everyone around you is struggling and they're not able to, just afford ends meet, it becomes a problem. But like I said, who am I? I'm not a politician.
No, but you're a businesswoman, and
I just think about these things.
but the needs of the people. That is what a businesswoman does. You in an entrepreneur, you listen to the people and you understand what the needs are, and those things are important because then you understand how to provide a service. And then one last thing before we start, like a couple last things before we start wrapping up. So, then what inspired the new like dinner experiences that
Oh,
you?
we didn't even talk. Give me once. I'm so sorry. I know we're live, but
No,
I need to charge my
do
laptop.
your
I
thing. Do
didn't
your
even
thing.
realize. I'm gonna just stop my video real quick.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it. All right.
Okay. All right. So the dining experience. Um so when with the seasoning, like I was like, oh, it's kind of getting stagnant. It did get stagnant because I had my daughter, she's not even two. So I took some time, it was just a lot. And it was like a one man show. So I'm like, okay, how do I revamp this? And a lot of the um, kind of like feedback, that's the word. The feedback I was getting was like, well, yeah, and do you cook? Like, can you cook for us, or can you like, or I mean, do you have a restaurant? Like, oh, maybe you should do like a YouTube channel just so you could teach us how to cook. And I was like, huh, okay. Like every time when they would open their mouth, I was like, I already know what you're about to say. So I was like, okay, I like to make things pretty and nice, and I like to cook. So I was like, initially last year, I was like running around thinking I wanted to open a restaurant. And I was like, oops, no, I don't want to do that. Just it's a high risk, let's not even get into that. So then I was like, well, how can I showcase this, in my way too, that I love? Um, and I was like, oh, I could do dining experiences, right? I feel like a lot of the people that I am targeting are our age group, family, work, busy. And I was like, we can't go to the club. I mean, no offense if you do. No offense if you do. But I personally know people in my circle are like, the club, I'll go to sleep if I go there.
Absolutely. Oh my God, that's me. I did. That's Jessica. I definitely went to sleep in the club. And I know.
Yeah. So I said, okay, well, people like to kick it. People like to sit back. People like to talk. People like to, good company, good food with a little bit of alcohol in the midst. And I said, well, I think that would be dope. Like if we can all come together from different backgrounds, right? And I think we're in this niche where we all come from different professional worlds and just like continue to network, because once you kind of leave college, undergrad, master's, whatever, that sometimes dies. You know, you have no idea what I'm doing, like how that could benefit you, or maybe you were thinking about making a career change. So I was like, it's an experience, like it's all part of the experience. And then I said, oh, well, I have to keep my audience engaged, right? So that every experience comes with something. The one that I just did was a cooking session because um the way that I always try to present my spices or anything that I do is for you to make these quick meals, 30 minutes or less, and get back to your reality. Because who's about to cook? Who's about to cook like they cook it for Thanksgiving? You know, no one has time for that. So I even think a lot of the recipes on my IG gets like do this, do that, do this, and we're done, right? Um, so the one that's coming up, October 26th, this time we're gonna be able to make our own seasoning. You know, you make it and you take it home with you. And we'll, just to walk people through like, really how easy it is to create these seasonings, which is ingredients that you have in your kitchen. Again, my seasoning, like, I don't know if I said this, my seasoning are like 80% organic. So you do get more flavor. Where I normally source them from, I love them. Like I can tell the difference. Once you use a little bit, you feel it, you smell it. So that's the next one. So what I was like, okay, well, we're gonna create this where it's decked out, of course, right? But it's good food, good people, and we're just like we're chilling, like nothing serious. We're networking too, you know.
That
That was
part.
my vision. That was my vision. Yeah,
Okay.
because I like. How many times do you really talk to people that you went to school with? I mean, how many times do you see them?
Not at all. Not enough, right?
We went from seeing each other every day for 4 years and being like, hey, oh, you know, you'll be oh well, you know what, I'm doing this internship, or you know, I just got a lead on this. That's is still prevalent. It's prevalent and it's more needed than ever now because people are in these spaces where they don't talk about their struggles, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
One of the things that like you definitely spoke to something that we do in our household, which is we do a lot, we don't go to the club. I'm not a clubber. I'm not but I like to host, have people come over, game night,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
We do our little word events. We do our little refeeds. We do little crazy stuff at home, but like fun stuff. But like one of the things that I talked with Wanda about, my wife, was that like one day we need to do, and I saw it on social media, but I thought it was a very neat idea where you do like a PowerPoint presentation party where like you have people present and talk about what their job is. Like, what do
yeah,
you do? Like, it doesn't have to be like a long one, right? Like a 1-2 minute slide of just about like what
right,
you do, like what do you do for work and what are your aspirations or whatever. Just so we can
yeah,
continue to expand like the network and figure out how we can support each other, right? Like, I
exactly,
mean, you tell us what you do, like we know, but sometimes you don't really know. Like you don't know the extent to what your work entails, right? Unless we got a chance to like sit down for real, like we're doing now, and catch up and talk.
right, right,
Usually, we might have like, oh, okay, that's cool. You might talk a little bit, but you really don't know the extent to what and how like you can advance in your careers. What type of external or internal support would you need
hmm,
in order to make that work? And I'm just like, those are the things that I enjoy. Like I enjoy wanting to put my people on, right, and be able to support minds and be able to, so we can all eat together. No pun intended. But
exactly.
like,
It's
yeah,
enough. It's enough food for all of us to eat, and yeah, just to add on to that, not even professionally, but on a social level, like I do have friends, you know, both female and male, who are still looking for that right someone. And
part two.
I mean, it's our reality, you know. It's harder to meet people when you are working these 60 hours a day schedule. So you know, use it for whatever benefit. Like people are around. People tend not to be around no more. Like
Mhm.
it's either you and your family through this daily struggle, but then sometimes you could just talk to one person and be like, listen, I know A, B, C, and D, and it could just make a life of a difference. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, listen, this has been amazing. I definitely told you we go over time. And but before we wrap up, I always ask my guests this
Yeah.
question. Um, What do you want? What do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done for you? What do you want? What do you want your legacy to be? Yeah, you'd be like, all right.
Oh wow, I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
Or have I? Um,
I'm not gonna tell you because Krista don't tell nobody nothing. No, but I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
what is my legacy?
What do you want
So
it to?
I guess to be able to let people know that it's okay. It's you're okay. Like you said, to network and help people out, right? And networking doesn't have to be like, I don't know, posting stuff on Instagram about, but to be really in people's, like, to be in the shadow of stuff, because that's what I'm not like in the forefront of, I'm your background
The
person,
back, pulling the
right?
strings in the back.
Yeah, but to just, so like I found that like the older we get, it's very weird, but people tend to not want to share resources.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't like that.
Is that strange?
It's very strange to me. I'm the
I'm
opposite.
like, wait, what the hell is going on? My legacy is just to to make sure like we're all good.
Absolutely.
My grandmother used to always tell me, and this is like example, like when you get married and you make sure you help that friend get a husband or that guy get a wife, you guys are all good now. Now you don't have to worry about her looking at your husband like, well, she got a husband. And that's even in jobs. Like if you get a job and someone's struggling, help them. And then we're a minority in a lot of places that we go. Not African American, Black American, it doesn't matter. We're minorities. Can we not fight? Can we not do that? Like, if you don't even like me, let's not do that, because the thought is we need to help each other. I'm trying to even think. I would want my legacy to be like she was like the person who connected, because people will call me and be like, hey, can you help? And I'm like, absolutely. Can you write me a letter? Absolutely. What, because I think I was given that. And I just want to give that back. And I may not be very loud about it, but if you ask, you will receive.
That's real.
Yep.
That's how we gonna end that. That is how we're gonna end that. That is a strong exclamation, mic drop moment. Man, sis, thank you so much for jumping.
Of course.
So just like immediately, you know what I mean? This is what I mean. And this is exactly practicing what she preaches in terms of being there for her peoples, man. I hit up Crystal like, yo, you want to be on the show? She was like, I'll be there tonight. I said, what? I'll be there tonight too, then. So I'm very, very grateful, and I'm very glad we got a chance.
Of course. Thank you for doing this.
Listen, thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, because I was like, I've never been on a podcast. What am I supposed to do? I asked, I'm like, am I supposed to come to you?
I go to my studio. You gonna come to the house with these kids? I'm trying to put these kids to bed. No aunties coming in to give my children a reason to be like, auntie, come and see my room. They can stay up until they can try to find a reason to stay up.
Yeah, finesse. I know.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for jumping. Of course. So please let the audience know how can they reach you, learn more about your organization, and anything you can find you on social media. You want to drop the hand?
Yeah. So Ghana2Go on IG, Ghana2Go.com. You can find the dine-in experience on there too. The next one is supposed to be October 26th. I already kind of talked about it. There's more details. It's going to be Afrofusion, falling for Afrofusion because we're in the fall. And it's Afrofusion. Look, I'm like, it's going to be a plethora of different dishes, but it'll be brunch, open bar, and we're going to make the seasoning. And then again, we're going to network. There's going to be like a little activity that gets you into a raffle. I also do like raffles in all my events, so you will win something. Well, not everyone if your name gets picked, but yeah. So you can check me out. And then my personal IG is Crystal_AA. Yep.
All right. All right. Well, thank you again, Crystal Amoah.
Thank you.
Ghana2Go, please. Remember the name. Remember the name. Ghana2Go.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right, sis, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.